Ambassador Tahoe Park stood nervously at the United Nations podium, adjusting his perfectly straight tie for the fifth time. The room buzzed with anticipation. This was humanity's first official contact with an alien civilization. The delegation from the Stellar Confederation had arrived 3 days ago in their sleek silver ships, and today would mark the formal beginning of diplomatic relations. What Tahoe didn't realize was that his small, unconscious gestures were having an extraordinary effect on the alien diplomats. Every time he shifted his weight or straightened his already perfect paperwork, the aliens would try to stifle what sounded like chirping noises of delight. High Counselor Nix, the lead alien diplomat, was particularly struggling. The tall, elegant creature with iridescent scales had a reputation throughout the galaxy for unwavering composure. Yet here she sat, covering her face slits with all four hands, trying desperately not to make cooing sounds as the human ambassador cleared his throat. "Distinguished delegates," Tahoe began, his voice steady despite his inner nervousness. "Today marks a historic moment for both our civilizations." He paused to take a sip of water, and several alien diplomats couldn't contain themselves, letting out high-pitched trills of joy. In the observation gallery, Junior Diplomat Harry Kim watched the scene unfold with growing confusion. She leaned over to her colleague, Lisa Chen, and whispered, "Is it just me, or are they acting really strange? They make those sounds every time Ambassador Park moves." Lisa shrugged, equally puzzled. Maybe it's some kind of cultural greeting. Though they didn't do this during the preliminary meetings. Down on the main floor, Tahoe soldiered on, unaware of the effect he was having. The proposed data exchange protocols will allow for seamless communication between our worlds. He unconsciously pushed his glasses up his nose, causing two alien diplomats to clutch each other in apparent delight. High Counselor Nix was now visibly trembling, her scales shifting through various shades of pink, a sign of extreme emotional distress in her species. Her assistant kept offering her calming beverages, which she waved away with one of her hands while keeping the others firmly pressed against her face slits. Furthermore, Tahoe continued, shuffling his papers, "We propose a gradual integration of our technological knowledge bases." He was interrupted by what could only be described as a squeal from the alien section. This time, he stopped and looked directly at them, his eyebrows furrowed in concern. "Is everything all right?" he asked politely. "Should we take a brief recess?" This simple display of consideration proved too much for High Counselor Nix. She shot up from her seat, all her scales now a brilliant pink, and declared in a shaky voice, "This session must be temporarily adjourned." The humans. She struggled to find the right words. The humans' behavioral patterns are causing unexpected physiological responses in our delegation. The human side of the room erupted in confused murmurs. In the gallery, Harry pulled out her tablet and began taking rapid notes. Something very unusual was happening here. And as a junior diplomat, she knew it was her job to document everything. The alien delegation practically fled the room, leaving behind bewildered human diplomats and a very confused Tahoe Park. As they rushed past the observation gallery, Harry could hear them chattering in their native language, their universal translators catching phrases like unbearably endearing and dangerously cute. Secretary General Martinez approached the podium where Tahoe still stood, looking lost. "Ambassador Park, please don't worry. I'm sure there's a reasonable explanation for this unusual reaction." But before anyone could begin to make sense of what had happened, a junior alien aide rushed back into the chamber, looking flustered. "High Counselor Nix requests that we be provided with all available recordings of human diplomatic proceedings, particularly those featuring Ambassador Park adjusting his clothing or drinking water." The room fell into stunned silence. Tahoe looked down at his water glass, then at his tie, then back at the aide. "I'm sorry, but what?" In the gallery, Harry couldn't help but laugh. "I think," she whispered to Lisa, "we just discovered that aliens find humans adorable." The aide was now making desperate grabbing motions toward Tahoe's water glass. "Please, Could you take another sip? For diplomatic purposes. That evening, as news of the bizarre first contact spread through diplomatic channels, Tahoe sat in his office, rewatching the recording of the session. He noticed for the first time how the alien delegates had been practically vibrating with suppressed emotion every time he moved. Well, he said to no one in particular, this certainly wasn't covered in diplomatic training. Little did he know, this was just the beginning of humanity's most unexpected diplomatic crisis, their apparently irresistible cuteness to alien species. And somewhere in the Stellar Confederation's ship, High Counselor Nix was watching the recording of him saying those words, cooing uncontrollably at his confused expression. High Counselor Nix paced around the grand circular chamber of the Galactic Council, her scales shifting through various shades of distress. She paused to slam all 4 of her appendages onto the ancient marble table, making the other council members jump in their seats. "This is unprecedented," she declared, her voice trembling with emotion. "The human footage has infected every corner of the galaxy. Look at these statistics." The holographic display in the center of the chamber sprang to life, showing charts and graphs that all pointed toward one alarming trend. Across thousands of worlds, alien workers were spending countless hours watching videos of humans doing completely ordinary things. Here, Nix pointed with 2 of her hands, is the productivity chart from the Centauri Mining Corporation. The line on the graph plummeted dramatically. Their entire workforce spent 6 hours yesterday watching a clip of Dr. Julie yawning during a physics lecture. It has become the most watched piece of media in galactic history. Sub-Chancellor Vex, a tall, crystalline being, chimed in with a voice like breaking glass. "They must be stopped. Their adorableness is destroying productivity across 17 sectors." The chamber erupted in concerned murmurs as more data poured in. Security footage showed Arctuvian factory workers huddled around screens, cooing at videos of humans stretching after long meetings. In the Orion shipyards, entire crews had abandoned their posts to watch compilations of humans getting excited about their pets. "Look at this." Administrative Director Zix projected a new image. A human named Minjasong fell asleep during an Earth business meeting. The footage leaked to our networks, and now the Galactic Stock Exchange has practically ground to a halt. Our traders can't stop watching him drool on his documents. Nix pulled up another report with shaking hands. "It gets worse. 3 major civilizations have already adapted their architecture to include what humans call coffee shops, just because they saw humans looking cute while drinking bitter bean water in these establishments." The council members watched in horror as the next set of statistics appeared. Productivity was down 60% across all sectors. The Galactic Education System reported that students were skipping classes to watch humans doing simple mathematics on their primitive boards. Even the fearsome draconian warriors had been spotted trying to imitate human finger hearts. "We have to act now," declared Senior Counselor Rith, their bioluminescent patterns flashing in distress. "Just this morning, I caught my entire security detail watching a loop of a human ambassador tripping over his own feet. They called it precious and heartwarming. These are elite guards trained to show no emotion." A junior aide rushed into the chamber, looking flustered. "Emergency report from the Andromeda sector. Someone leaked footage of humans sleeping with their mouths open. 3 major industrial complexes have shut down because the workers are too busy watching and making happy noises." High Counselor Nix sank into her chair, all 4 hands covering her face slits in despair. "We must issue an immediate galaxy-wide directive. The humans must be ordered to cease all adorable behaviors at once." "But how do we enforce it?" asked Sub-Chancellor Vex. "They don't even know they're being adorable. That just makes them even more adorable." The council chamber fell silent as this terrible truth sank in. On the main display, a new video started playing. A human diplomat named Hyunjin Cho had sneezed during a meeting and apologized while blushing. Several council members had to look away to maintain their composure. "We need immediate action," Nix declared, forcing herself to focus. "First, we ban all human media from official channels. Second, we implement a galaxy-wide blocking of what humans call social media. And third, she paused, gathering courage, we send them an official demand to stop being so utterly, devastatingly cute. The council voted unanimously in favor of these measures, though 3 members had to abstain because they were too busy watching a video of a human getting excited about seeing a rainbow. As the session ended, High Counselor Nyx stayed behind, staring at the now empty holographic display. She pulled out her personal device, looked around to make sure no one was watching, and quietly played her favorite video. Ambassador Tahoe Park trying to use chopsticks for the first time at an official dinner. For research purposes only, she mumbled to herself, her scales turning a deep shade of pink as she watched him drop his food and laugh embarrassedly. Purely professional research. Little did the council know, their attempt to control the spread of human cuteness would only make things worse. Much, much worse. The gleaming spires of Centauri Prime stretched into the purple alien sky as the human diplomatic shuttle made its final approach. Inside, Ambassador Minho Kang reviewed his notes one last time, determined to address the bizarre demands from the Galactic Council with all the seriousness they didn't deserve. "This is ridiculous," he muttered to his assistant Do-Yeon Choi, who was organizing their presentation materials. "How exactly do they expect us to stop being adorable when we don't even know what they find adorable about us?" The shuttle landed smoothly in the Council's main diplomatic bay. As the human delegation stepped out, they were met with a crowd of alien media representatives, all trying desperately to maintain their professional composure. Several of them made strange chirping sounds when Minho straightened his tie. The walk to the council chamber was an exercise in confusion. Alien staff members kept stopping in their tracks, staring at the humans with what appeared to be barely contained delight. One crystalline being actually started vibrating when Do-Yeon smiled politely at them. Inside the Grand Council chamber, the situation only got worse. As soon as Minho approached the speaking platform, the assembled alien representatives began making those strange cooing sounds they'd been warned about. "Distinguished members of the Galactic Council," Minho began firmly, "I come before you today to address your recent demands regarding human behavior." He paused to adjust his glasses, not realizing this simple gesture would have dramatic consequences. 3 council members immediately fainted, their bodies changing various colors as they slumped in their seats. Medical teams rushed in, only to become distracted themselves when Minho apologetically stepped aside to let them pass. With all due respect, he tried again, gripping the podium tightly. "These demands are both impossible and unreasonable." He glanced down at his notes, furrowing his brow in concentration. This caused a wave of what could only be described as squealing to sweep through the chamber. High Counselor Nyx, trying to maintain order, stood up. "Ambassador Kang, please stop making that expression with your face. It's too," she struggled for words, "too precious." "What expression?" Minho asked, genuinely confused, which only made things worse. Several more council members had to be escorted out, overcome with what they later described as acute adorability exposure. Then disaster struck. Do-Yeon, standing quietly behind the ambassador, felt a sneeze coming on. He tried to hold it back, knowing what had happened during previous incidents, but it was too late. "Achoo!" he sneezed, immediately covering his mouth and saying a quiet "excuse me." The reaction was immediate and catastrophic. An entire section of the chamber had to be evacuated as aliens of various species struggled to contain their emotional responses. Some were making high-pitched, keening sounds, others were changing colors rapidly, and a few appeared to be trying to capture the moment on their recording devices while pretending they weren't. "Please," Minho tried once more, "we need to have a serious discussion about these demands." He ran his hand through his hair in frustration, accidentally triggering another wave of cooing sounds. From the gallery, Junior Diplomat Harry Kim watched the chaos unfold with a mixture of amusement and concern. She leaned over to her colleague and whispered, "Should we tell him that running his hand through his hair like that is what started this whole crisis in the first place. The session completely broke down when Do-yun, trying to help, offered a tissue to a nearby alien representative who appeared to be leaking some sort of emotional fluid. The simple act of human kindness caused a chain reaction of what the aliens called cuteness overload throughout the chamber. This session will have to be adjourned, High Counselor Nix declared, her voice shaking as she tried not to look directly at the confused human diplomats. And Ambassador Kang, please stop making that adorably puzzled face. What puzzled face? Minho asked, which only made things worse. As they were escorted out of the chamber, Minho turned to Do-yun and said, "Well, that could have gone better." His quiet sigh of resignation was apparently picked up by the alien's sensitive hearing, causing several more fainting spells in their wake. Back on their shuttle, the human delegation sat in bewildered silence, trying to make sense of what had just happened. "Maybe we should send our complaints in writing," Do-yun suggested, then sneezed again, causing their alien pilot to temporarily lose control of the vessel while cooing in delight. The incident would go down in galactic history as the day of overwhelming cuteness, and would only serve to make humans even more fascinating to their alien observers. Somewhere in the Council archives, security footage of Minho's confused expressions would become the most replayed diplomatic recording in history. Ye Ji-song sat in her office at the Earth Cultural Exchange Program headquarters, reading the latest directive from the Galactic Council for the 10th time. She couldn't help but laugh, the sound echoing through the empty room. "They want us to stop being adorable." She shook her head in disbelief. "How exactly are we supposed to do that when we don't even know what they find adorable about us?" Her computer chimed with an incoming call from Ambassador Minho Kang. His face appeared on the screen, looking exhausted after his return from Centauri Prime. "Yeji, have you seen the latest? They're now claiming that humans doing paperwork is too precious to handle." "This is getting out of hand," Yeji replied, running her fingers through her hair. "Just yesterday, I got a report that some alien species are trying to imitate the way humans drink coffee. They don't even have the same kind of mouths as us." The situation was rapidly spiraling beyond anyone's control. Despite the Galactic Council's ban on human media, an underground market had emerged almost overnight. Videos of humans doing mundane activities were being traded across the galaxy like precious contraband. A perfect example was the now infamous sleeping diplomat video. UN Representative Junho Lee had dozed off during a particularly long-budget meeting, his head slowly dropping until he jerked awake with a startled expression. The security footage had somehow leaked to the extranet and became the most valuable piece of media in galactic history. Alien collectors were offering entire star systems in exchange for the original, uncompressed version. "Have you heard about Nari?" Minho asked, adjusting his glasses. Her bodycam footage caused quite a stir. Yeji nodded. Security officer Nari Ba had become an accidental revolutionary figure. During her lunch break, her bodycam had captured her playing with a puppy outside the UN building. The footage showed her laughing and making baby talk noises at the small dog. When the video leaked to the Outer Rim territories, it sparked 3 minor revolutions as alien species demanded the right to express emotions more freely. "The black market for human content is booming," Yeji said, pulling up some statistics. "Look at these numbers." A clip of Dr. Kim yawning during his quantum physics lecture is being used as currency in some sectors. And apparently, alien teenagers are getting in trouble for watching humans eat noodles under their desks during class. Just then, her assistant rushed in with an urgent report. "Miss Song, the aliens have discovered ASMR videos." Yeji and Minho both groaned. This was exactly what they didn't need. More content that aliens found irresistible. The galaxy's communication networks were already struggling to handle the traffic of bootlegged human content. "It gets worse," the assistant continued. "Someone leaked footage from the International Space Station. The video of astronauts giggling in zero gravity has caused 7 diplomatic incidents already." Yeji stood up and walked to her window, looking out at the Seoul skyline. Below, she could see people going about their daily lives, completely unaware that their ordinary actions were causing chaos across the galaxy. "You know what?" she said, turning back to Minho's image on the screen. "Maybe we should give them what they want." "What do you mean?" "If they find us so adorable, let's use it. We'll flood their networks with so much human content that they'll have to give up trying to regulate it." Minho's eyes widened. "Are you suggesting we weaponize our cuteness?" "Exactly," Yeji grinned. "We'll start with the cat videos." Over the next few weeks, Earth's resistance to the Council's demands took an unusual form. Instead of trying to be less adorable, humans began deliberately documenting their daily lives. Coffee shops installed cameras to capture people's delighted expressions at their first sip of morning coffee. Universities recorded students falling asleep in libraries, their faces pressed against open books. The results were immediate and dramatic. The Galactic Council's enforcement agencies were overwhelmed. How could they stop the spread of human content when their own agents couldn't resist watching just one more video of humans getting excited about pizza? Security Officer Nariba, now known across the galaxy as the Puppy Ambassador, found herself promoted to head of a new department dedicated to human-alien cultural relations. Her first act was to organize a galactic dog show, which had to be postponed when the initial promotional materials caused several alien species to experience what they called cute overload. As Yeji reviewed the success of their resistance, she received one final report that made her laugh out loud. The Galactic Council's own internal security cameras had caught High Counselor Nix secretly watching compilation videos of humans tripping over their own feet and apologizing to inanimate objects. The resistance, it seemed, had already won, not through force or diplomacy, but through humanity's accidental and irresistible charm. Director Hyunwoo Kim stood before the Galactic Economic Council, trying his best to deliver his presentation on the growing crisis. The massive chamber, usually filled with serious discussion of market trends and trade agreements, had devolved into barely contained chaos. As you can see from these projections, Hyunwoo paused, unconsciously humming while he gathered his thoughts. The sound triggered an immediate wave of delighted trills from the alien economists. Several of them began recording the moment on their devices, while others simply swayed in their seats, completely entranced. "Please, Director Kim," begged Chief Economist Fax, their crystalline form vibrating with emotion. "You must stop making those adorable sounds while you think. We can't focus on the economic catastrophe." Hyunwoo cleared his throat and tried again, unaware that this simple action caused 3 more aliens to experience what they called cute overload. The holographic displays around him showed market crashes across 17 sectors, but nobody seemed able to focus on the numbers. Analyst Min Ji-yoon rushed into the chamber with the latest reports, tucking a loose strand of hair behind her ear as she approached the podium. The simple gesture caused several alien species to emit high-pitched squeals of delight. One particularly affected delegate had to be escorted out, babbling about human precious gestures and too much adorable energy. "The markets are in freefall," Minji reported, trying to maintain her professional composure. "The situation has become critical. 17 major corporations have replaced their logos with human emoticons. The Centauri Stock Exchange is now measuring market performance in smile units instead of credits." She pulled up more data, showing the extent of the crisis. The galaxy's largest banking conglomerate had changed its name to, and was using pictures of sleeping humans as currency. The Orion Manufacturing Coalition had completely abandoned their traditional design philosophy in favor of what they called human cute aesthetics. "Look at this," Hyunwoo pointed to a particularly alarming chart, accidentally humming again as he analyzed the data. 3 more council members had to excuse themselves, overcome with what their medical staff described as acute adorability exposure. The presentation was interrupted by an urgent message from the Andromeda Trading Hub. The holographic projection showed complete chaos as alien traders abandoned their posts to watch a leaked video of Earth's International Science Conference, where a young researcher had gotten excited about discovering a new bacterial species. "We've lost control," Minji stated, nervously adjusting her glasses. This simple action caused the remaining alien economists to emit a collective sigh of delight. The Galactic Reserve Bank is now using human reaction GIFs in their official communications. Their latest monetary policy announcement was just a loop of a human looking confused about math. Hyunwoo started pacing, a habit he had when stressed. The aliens tracked his movement with rapt attention, completely ignoring the economic meltdown displayed on the screens around them. The crisis had reached a point where even emergency meetings about the crisis were contributing to the crisis. "The Draconian Mining Consortium," Minji continued, checking her tablet, "has converted all their facilities into what they call human watching stations. Their entire workforce is now dedicated to documenting and categorizing different types of human smiles." The situation deteriorated further when a junior analyst entered with more updates. The poor human was suffering from allergies and sneezed, causing a chain reaction of alien responses that forced them to call a temporary recess. By the time order was restored, 3 more major trading hubs had replaced their traditional trading calls with human finger hearts. "We need to act now," Hyunwoo declared, unconsciously humming as he pulled up the next set of data. Half the remaining council members had to cover their sensory organs, overwhelmed by the combination of his thoughtful expression and the humming. Minji tried to save the situation by focusing on concrete numbers, but her occasional hair-tucking was proving too distracting for the alien economists. One of them had started a petition to make hair-tucking the official greeting gesture of the Galactic Economy Council. The breaking point finally came when Hyunwoo, frustrated by a particularly complex chart, scrunched up his nose in concentration. The entire council chamber erupted in what could only be described as economic chaos. Trading algorithms across the galaxy began incorporating human cuteness factors into their calculations. The galactic currency markets switched to measuring value in admirable units. As the session dissolved into complete disorder, Minji leaned over to Hyunwoo and whispered, "I think we just crashed the galactic economy with our facial expressions." Hyunwoo hummed thoughtfully in response, inadvertently causing the final remaining alien economists to abandon any pretense of professional behavior. They were now openly collecting human reaction recordings for what they called economic research purposes. Outside the chamber, news of the economic meltdown spread across the galaxy. But nobody seemed to care about their plummeting investments. They were too busy watching humans react to their plummeting investments, finding their confused and worried expressions impossibly endearing. The galaxy had reached its breaking point, and it was adorable. Research Director Jaeong Shin sat at his desk, staring at the latest cultural impact reports with a mixture of amusement and disbelief. When he'd started documenting the spread of human behaviors across alien civilizations, he'd expected some minor cultural exchange. What he hadn't expected was a complete galactic cultural revolution. His tablet chimed with another urgent update from Field Agent Zoe Iam in the Andromeda sector. Her holographic image appeared, looking both fascinated and slightly disturbed. "Director Shin, you won't believe what I'm seeing. They're literally building coffee shops on every corner. I just watched the Zentarian. You know, the crystalline beings who don't even drink liquids. Try to do Ajo while holding an empty coffee cup." Jaeong rubbed his temples, trying to process the information. The reports were flooding in from every corner of the galaxy. Alien species were adopting human mannerisms at an unprecedented rate. The mighty draconian warriors, once known for their stoic demeanor, were now saying "thank you" and "excuse me" during battle. The highly individualistic Arctuvians had started organizing group dinner parties, complete with self-camera photos, before meals. "There's more," Zoe continued, checking her notes. "The Zentarians have started building what they call friendship parks, public spaces designed specifically for activities they've observed humans doing. They've installed benches even though their species doesn't sit, just so they can pretend to sit and chat like humans do." The revolution wasn't limited to social behaviors. Jaeong pulled up footage from the Orion corporate sector, where alien businesses had completely restructured their operations. Companies were implementing human-style work breaks, despite many species having no biological need for rest. The concept of weekends had spread like a virus through alien civilizations that didn't even experience time the same way humans did. "Sir," his assistant interrupted, rushing in with more reports. "The Galactic Education Council just voted to make finger hearts an official part of their graduation ceremonies, and the Quantum Physics Institute has reported that their scientists are now saying 'fighting' before starting experiments." Jeong couldn't help but laugh as he reviewed the cultural transformation spreading across the stars. The Stellar Fashion Council had declared human business suits the height of admirable formal wear, leading to numerous anatomically impossible attempts by various species to wear ties. Multiple alien races had begun constructing entirely decorative beds in their homes, despite being species that never slept, just so they could try to imitate human napping behavior. "Director," Zoe's hologram flickered with another update. "I just witnessed something extraordinary." A group of Zentarians attempted to organize what they called a K-pop flash mob in the central plaza. Their crystalline bodies aren't designed for dancing, but they've developed their own interpretation of human dance moves. Well, you need to see this. The footage she shared showed crystalline beings attempting to synchronize their movements while playing human pop music. Their bodies sparkled and refracted light in complex patterns, creating an unexpected but beautiful fusion of human and alien cultural expression. But perhaps the most surprising development came from the hive mind collective of the Carina Nebula. These beings, who had never before understood the concept of individual expression, had begun developing unique personalities based on different human traits they found appealing. Some members of the hive mind had started specializing in what they called cute sneeze patterns, while others focused on perfecting human-style yawns. "The linguistic impact is fascinating," Jeong noted in his report. "Alien languages are being transformed by human expressions of emotion. The Draconians, whose language once had no words for feelings, have created new terms by combining their traditional war cries with human emoticons." Zoe's hologram appeared again, her eyes wide with disbelief. "Director, you won't believe this. The Zentarians have just announced they're hosting something called a galaxy-wide AudioBook convention. They're calling it UhuCon 2025. Should we be concerned?" Jeong leaned back in his chair, contemplating the implications. The galaxy was experiencing a fundamental shift in social interaction, all because aliens found human behaviors irresistibly charming. What had started as a crisis of productivity had evolved into the largest cultural revolution in galactic history. "Let them have their convention," he finally replied to Zoe. At this point, trying to stop the spread of human culture would be like trying to stop a supernova with a paper fan. As if to prove his point, his office AI chimed in with its daily report, in AGO voice, a setting he definitely hadn't installed. The Cultural Revolution had even spread to artificial intelligences across the galaxy, with AI systems developing what they called human-inspired personality modules. Jeong added one final note to his report: the galaxy will never be the same, and maybe that's not such a bad thing. He smiled as he sent the report, unknowingly causing several alien observers monitoring his office to emit delighted trilling sounds at his expression. The Cultural Revolution continued to spread, unstoppable and adorable, transforming the galaxy one coffee shop, finger heart, and attempted AGO at a time. The Grand Chamber of the Galactic Council had never seen anything quite like this final session. Instead of the usual formal proceedings, Ambassador Yoon Jae-han had arranged the space more like an Earth living room, complete with comfortable seating and plates of freshly baked cookies. As alien representatives filed in, many already trying to imitate human smiles, Yoon-jae stood by the refreshment table, offering cookies with a warmth that made several delegates emit happy trilling sounds. High Counselor Nix, once the strongest advocate for controlling human adorableness, was now wearing what appeared to be a human-inspired business suit, modified for her four-armed form. "Please, help yourselves," Yunja said, gesturing to the cookies. The simple act of hospitality caused a wave of delighted chirps throughout the chamber. Several alien species who couldn't even eat Earth food took cookies anyway, just to experience what they called the human sharing ritual. The session began with unprecedented informality. Instead of the traditional galactic anthem, they played a recording of humans laughing at cat videos. 3 alien delegates had to be briefly excused due to overwhelming emotional responses. Yunjae took his place at the speaking platform, which had been modified to look like an Earth kitchen table. He pulled out his notepad and began absent-mindedly doodling as he spoke, causing several alien diplomats to coo in delight. "We never meant to cause any trouble," he explained, his pen creating little stars in the margins of his notes. "We were just being ourselves." The simple honesty of his statement, combined with his unconscious doodling, caused a ripple of what could only be described as collective alien joy throughout the chamber. High Counselor Nyx stood up, her scales shifting through happy colors. "The motion to repeal the anti-adorable resolution is now open for voting." She paused, watching Yunjae scratch his nose thoughtfully. "After I finish recording this absolutely precious human gesture." The vote was unanimous. Not a single species voted to maintain the restrictions on human cuteness. In fact, several delegates were too busy trying to learn how to make finger hearts to even participate in the formal voting process. As the resolution was officially repealed, something unprecedented happened. The traditionally stoic draconian ambassador stood up and attempted to do adyo while saying, "fighting." The attempt was terrifying by human standards, but the other aliens found it delightful. Yunja couldn't help but smile at the scene, unknowingly triggering another wave of alien cooing. The galaxy had changed in ways no one could have predicted. Human consultants were now in high demand across the cosmos, teaching alien species the art of being cute without trying. The irony that this made humans even more adorable to their alien students was not lost on anyone. In the observation gallery, Junior Diplomat Harry Kim watched as a group of Artuvians attempted to perfect the human art of finger hearts. Their tentacles weren't quite suited for the gesture, but their enthusiasm was undeniable. "You know," she whispered to her colleague, "I think we've actually made the galaxy a better place by just being ourselves." The aftermath of the resolution saw rapid changes across space. The Galactic Council established a new Department of Human Cultural Integration, headed by none other than Security Officer Nariba, whose infamous puppy video had started much of the revolution. Coffee shops spread across the stars, with aliens gathering to simulate human coffee-drinking behaviors, even if their species couldn't consume the beverage. The Zentarians developed a particularly popular trend of creating crystal sculptures of human sleep positions, despite never sleeping themselves. Education systems across the galaxy began incorporating human social customs into their curricula. Young aliens learned the art of saying thank you and giving compliments. The Hivemind Collective even developed a course called Individual Cuteness Expression 101. As Yunja concluded his final remarks, he reached for his water glass and accidentally knocked it over. His embarrassed smile and quick apology caused such a wave of alien delight that the chamber's emotion sensors overloaded. Perhaps, High Counselor Nyx declared, while trying to secretly record Yunja cleaning up the spill, "This is the true purpose of galactic civilization, not just to explore space, but to share our unique ways of being, even if some of us are accidentally more adorable than others." The session ended with what would become a new galactic tradition. A group selka, with representatives from thousands of species trying their best to imitate human smiles. The resulting image, featuring everything from tentacles to crystalline formations arranged in attempts at finger hearts, became the most shared piece of media in galactic history. As the delegates filed out, many still clutching their uneaten cookies as precious souvenirs, Yunja gathered his notes, unaware that his final doodle, a simple smiley face, would become the new symbol of the Galactic Council. The galaxy would never be the same, and that was exactly as it should be.